Something is about to feel unusually personal today, Gemini, and it is not really about the eclipse everyone is talking about. It is about a bill, a subscription, or a price you have been quietly resenting for weeks. The timing is not random. A major shift is happening at the exact same hour the sky goes dark over parts of the world, and for you the real story is not in the shadow overhead. It is in your wallet and in one conversation you may have been avoiding. Stay with this, because the connection between those two things is where today gets interesting. The bigger picture. Today carries two very different kinds of weight, and both matter. From the Western tropical view, a new moon in Leo arrives at 1:36 p.m. EDT, and it lands as part of a total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo. New moons usually mean fresh starts. Eclipse new moons are different. They open a door, but they do not let you see clearly through it yet. Think of it like a green light covered by a black bag. You know something is beginning, but you are not meant to fully see what it is, not today. That is an important thing to sit with because eclipses have a long reputation, tracked by astrologers for centuries, for correlating with blind spots. Not just about world events, but about our own behavior. Many people will point special glasses at the sky today expecting revelation. The irony is that eclipses tend to conceal more than they reveal. If a decision does not feel urgent, it probably is not. Let the fog around this particular new moon settle before you act on anything it stirs up. While that is unfolding overhead, something closer to home is shifting underfoot. Mars, the planet of action and urgency, has been sitting in your own sign since June 28th. And if the last 6 weeks have felt like life moving at double speed, that is exactly why. Today, Mars changes address. It moves into Cancer and into what Western astrology calls your second house, the house of money, resources, and self-worth. This is not a small move. Mars will stay there until September 27th, which means the next 6 weeks are going to ask you to turn all that restless energy towards something more grounded than chasing the next exciting thing. Here is where two different lenses land on the same moment. In Vedic tradition, the moon is currently transiting Cancer as well, and that placement is often described as bringing moodiness, a shorter fuse, and a tendency to say something sharper than you meant. Western astrology, meanwhile, is watching Mars arrive in that same emotional territory of Cancer. One tradition is describing your inner weather. The other is describing your outer drive. Put them together and you get a fairly precise picture. Today, your emotions and your ambitions are both parked in the same sensitive zone, and money is the most likely place that shows up first. Love. There is a question worth asking before this section even starts. If someone said something a little too sharp to you today, or if you said something you regret, is that really about the relationship, or is it about something else entirely? With the moon moving through Cancer, Gemini, your usual quick wit can turn slightly barbed without you fully noticing. Astrologers working in the Vedic tradition would say this is simply the day's emotional undertow, not a verdict on how you feel about someone. If a partner seems distant, or a conversation with someone new feels oddly tense, consider that the tension may be coming from you carrying a mood you have not named yet, not from anything they have done. For those in a relationship, this is a good day to be soft with your opinions rather than sharp with them. Save the bigger conversations for when the fog lifts. For anyone single, the same caution applies to first impressions. You may not be reading someone accurately today, and they may not be reading you accurately either. That eclipse-driven blind spot from earlier is not confined to world events. It touches personal perception too. But here is the part that reframes all of it. Later today, Mercury forms an opposition to Pluto, and this aspect has a habit of surfacing exactly what two people have been avoiding, especially around future plans, beliefs, or how much one person is willing to invest compared to the other. If a disagreement surfaces about where things are headed, do not rush to smooth it over just to keep the peace. What looks like conflict may actually be two people finally naming what they need instead of guessing. Affection that requires you to stay confused about where you stand is not really affection. It is financial fog, wearing a romantic disguise. Career. What starts as an emotional undercurrent in your personal life tends to show up at work too, and today that shows up as pressure disguised as opportunity. With Mars now settling into your second house instead of blazing through your own sign, the frantic pace of the last 6 weeks should start to ease into something more sustainable. That is the good news. The catch is that Mars in this position can pile on work pressure at the same time it opens genuinely interesting projects. You may find several appealing offers landing in the same week. The temptation will be to say yes to all of them because saying yes has felt good since June. Resist that instinct today. You might recognize this if a colleague or client approaches you with something exciting but vague on the details. Before agreeing, ask what it will actually cost you in time, energy, or unpaid effort. This is the point where confidence, something you may be feeling more of lately, needs to be paired with discernment. Trusting your judgment does not mean saying yes to everything your judgment approves of. It means being selective enough that the yeses actually count. Money? This is where the day's real story lives, Gemini, and it has been building since the introduction. Mars entering your money house does not whisper. It tends to make financial discomfort impossible to ignore. A bill that is higher than it should be, a subscription you forgot you were paying for, a fee that never made sense in the first place. Any of these could suddenly feel unbearable today rather than merely annoying. That irritation is not a distraction from the day's astrology. It is the day's astrology, doing exactly what it is designed to do. Use the irritation instead of drowning in it. Check the actual number instead of guessing at it. Call and ask about the fee instead of assuming nothing can change. Cancel what you no longer use instead of letting it quietly drain you every month. Security today is not built through one grand financial gesture. It is built through several small, deliberate choices, made one at a time, starting now. There is a reason this feels more personal than usual. Business opportunities may also be crossing your path around now, and your growing confidence is telling you to trust your own judgment on them. That is fair, as long as the judgment includes the boring parts, the actual math, not just the exciting potential. And if a shared financial decision with a partner comes up today, remember what surfaced back in the love section. Numbers deserve honest answers, not vague reassurance. Naming what feels fair now will save you a much harder conversation later. Health. Here is the detail that ties the entire day together. Your body is likely absorbing the same tension your bank account and your relationships are. That tightness in your chest when you think about a bill, or the flash of irritation before you snap at someone, is not separate from your well-being. It is the clearest signal you will get all day. Confidence has been growing lately, and that is genuinely worth acknowledging. But confidence paired with a Cancer-heavy sky also means your appetite for comfort food may spike right alongside your stress. Small adjustments matter more than dramatic ones right now. Easing back on sugar and heavier, high cholesterol foods is likely to make a bigger difference to your mood than you would expect, not because of any single meal, but because your system is already working overtime processing emotional information. Some Vedic practitioners might frame today's emotional intensity as something that responds well to moon-related remedies, such as specific colors, calming rituals, or mantras suited to an individual's chart. That kind of remedy work is genuinely personal territory. And nothing here should be taken as one-size-fits-all advice, especially anything involving gemstone prescriptions, which require real chart analysis to be used safely. What is universally safe, though, is simpler. Get outside. Move your body. Let a recreational activity, even a small one, absorb some of today's restlessness before it turns into a short temper. Home and family. If you have been a little more short-tempered at home than usual, this is not a character flaw. It is Cancer's emotional undertow again, showing up in the place where your guard is naturally lowest. Family members and close friends are often the first to notice a mood shift in you, sometimes before you have noticed it yourself. Try to catch yourself before an offhand comment lands harder than intended. The instruction from earlier applies here too. Be soft with opinions, focus on what actually matters, and let smaller irritations pass without comment. If a family conversation touches on money, be aware that Mars's arrival in your resource sector may make you more defensive about spending than usual. That defensiveness is understandable, but it is not always accurate. Take a breath before deciding someone is criticizing you when they might just be asking a question. Travel in spirit. There is a reason travel keeps surfacing in the background of today's chart, and it connects back to that Mercury-Pluto tension from earlier. Conversations about future plans, including travel, may expose different priorities between you and someone close to you. Rather than treating that as a red flag, treat it as useful information. Knowing where you actually stand is worth more than a comfortable illusion. On a more personal note, this could also be a promising window to consider new destinations, and somewhere like Guatemala may hold real appeal if a getaway has been on your mind. But the deeper spiritual thread today runs through Chiron, quietly active in your more private, solitary pursuits, whether that is a spiritual practice, therapy, or simply time spent alone making sense of things. Chiron right now favors bold experiments in that private space, testing what is realistic and what is not in your search for meaning. Whatever boundary you push in solitude today will likely tell you something true about where your real limits are, not the ones you assumed were there. Lucky signs. If you are looking for the day's smaller signals, your fortunate window arrives between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., a good stretch for handling anything that needs a level head. Burgundy red carries a steadying, grounding quality worth wearing if you need extra calm. Cancer energy, in people and in circumstances, may feel unusually significant today, whether that shows up as a comforting presence or as the source of today's financial nudge. Either way, it is worth paying attention to. Today's guidance. By now, the thread running through your entire day should be clear. An eclipse that conceals more than it reveals, a moon stirring old irritations, and Mars settling into the part of your chart that governs money and worth, all of it is pointing you toward the same simple discipline. Name things honestly instead of avoiding them. That applies to the bill you have been ignoring. It applies to the sharp comment you almost made. It applies to the conversation about the future that someone close to you may be waiting to have honestly. Today does not ask you for a grand gesture. It asks for a handful of small, clear-eyed decisions made instead of postponed. Handle those, and this restless, foggy day becomes one of the more quietly productive ones you will have all month.